All right, better late than never, as they say on Inside the Game. Welcome back in, episode 217. We were just too busy messing around before the show, and someone came bursting into our studio and went, "Hey, you realize it's 9 o'clock?"
We were
Got
too
people
busy.
waiting.
We were too busy. We were looking at how much longer Bobby Bonilla was getting paid by the New York Mets. That's what we were looking at.
2035, $1 million a year until 2035. That is, I feel like he has reached the pinnacle, like taking advantage of an organization and then just getting paid for nothing until 2035 when he retired in 2001 has to be the biggest heist job of all time. Of course, it goes back to the whole Bernie Madoff thing. He was one of the athletes that were on Bernie Madoff's books once upon a time, and so that's why it kind of worked out to him making all this money over the stretch of years. But yeah, we were off track and we were offline, and then we realized we actually have a show to put on.
Yeah,
so
we're confused about. Like John walks in and is like, "You realize it's 9?" I was like, "How did he even know that it was?"
Start the show.
Thought he was doing something else. But hey, shout out to John for getting us back on track. A lot of soccer to talk about today. A lot of other sports to talk about. But hey, shout out to the GOAT, Bobby Bonilla, for making $1.19 million annually every July 1st. And it's
every
actually
July 1st.
It's like adjusted every year for inflation and everything because obviously, 2001, $1.1 million is not obviously going to carry over to 2035.
What it is, what it is now.
Hey, shout out. He will be 72 years old in 2035.
My man's had the best 4th of July ever. If anybody else, no one has a better 4th of July than Bobby Bonilla year after year. Because imagine just someone just shows up to your doorstep and goes, "Here's $1 million. Have fun, have a ball. Go buy some fireworks. Do whatever the hell you want to do. I don't care. It's your money."
Do you think? Because obviously he probably has like a. Do you have a normal job though? Like if you know you're still making $1 million.
No. Well, okay. So
I think if you get bored,
I don't know. Does Bobby Bonilla?
Like at some point you got to get bored, and be like, "Yeah, let me go work shipping and receiving at Home Depot." Which there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
People don't get upset. People don't get
be
upset.
Like a greeter at Meijer or something.
Dude, that'd be something. Let's see.
I'm saying I don't know if there's a Meijer where Bobby Bonilla is, but I always feel bad for the greeters too, because like no one actually says hi back to the greeters. Like they're always gonna meet you. Well, not always. I mean, I feel like most of the time, but they're always gonna greet you with a smile, be like, "Hey, what's up?" No one says hi back. Just walk by like they don't exist. It just tears my heart out.
So
what are you seeing on the screen?
Hold up. So first off, he does have a spokesman role still, so he does have a job. But he also gets $500,000 annually from the Orioles until 2028.
Must be another Bernie Madoff thing. I didn't know that. What? From the Orioles?
Yeah, he gets the 1.19, but also receives $500,000 annually from the Orioles to 2020. How does he get? Dude, this guy is like everyone's out here playing checkers. This guy's out here playing 4D chess.
It just keeps going deeper and deeper.
So the Mets one I knew about.
So for those of you who don't know who are watching this show right now, it was in 1999 the Mets agreed to buy out the remaining $5.9 million on Bonilla's contract by paying him with an 8% interest over 25 years instead of a lump sum. Now, again, the middleman on this is Bernie Madoff. If you don't know about him, just Google him. I mean, this isn't really a finance show. I don't want to get into the conspiracy, although if we want to do a conspiracy episode, we are well within our right to do so. We know people love jumping into conspiracies, but in other words, the annual payments run from what was July 1 of 2011 to July 1 of 2035. So we got 9 years left, Final total of deferred payments is nearly $30 million over that stretch of time. It's become popular and ironic and iconic. And we have had a game on this day in minor league baseball, I think the last 3 years that I've been in that broadcast booth. So it's always a celebration on Bobby Bonilla Day.
He
It's like
gets $500,000 also from the Orioles from 2004 to 2025. He retired in 2000. Yeah, he retired in 2001. So I don't know. This guy's out here playing 4D chess. Shout out Bobby Bonilla. I don't know how he does it, but
getting into our
soccer
a little
here.
bit though. That's the goal though, to get to a point to where money's just coming in and you don't have to do a thing about it. That's
still
that
have a
seems
normal
like
job on top of it.
Seems like the dream. But moving on into these soccer talks again, we're giving away Salt athletic bags every week this week. The smell-proof cleat bags. Again, they are designed for cleats, but they're big enough and they're deep enough. You can fit a lot of stuff in there. Anything that you want to essentially eliminate the smell of, we are giving those away. So make sure you give us a follow. What is that hashtag again, Ryan, that we're having people leave on social media?
Yeah, if you just head over to our Instagram, NetSoccerTV, all you got to do is drop us a follow on Instagram over there, tag a friend in the comments with the hashtag NSN Salt giveaway at 21 weeks. 21 bags given away. They'll come by in a bag like this, so that's how you'll receive it. And then once we pick the winner, which will be every Friday, we'll ask for your we'll ship it to you. Just give us your address, and you'll receive it within however long it takes. So there you go.
All right.
Salt Athletic.
Heck yeah. Woo! Getting into our soccer talk a little bit, though, something that I sent over to you yesterday, Weston McKennie has been getting some high praise lately for the year that he's been having with Juventus. I know we've mentioned his name a few times already, just giving our roundups on our U.S. men's national teams, players that are playing over in Europe, but Weston McKennie has been having a marvelous season from a club perspective. I know that obviously Chris Richards was named the U.S. men's national team player of the year, but I believe from a club perspective, Ryan, outside of Christian Pulisic, I don't think anybody's had a better club season in 25 going into 26 from the U.S. men's national team ranks than Weston McKennie. He's had a really, really good start, and some words that were shared about him yesterday. But let's dive into that a little bit. I believe you have a quote, and this comes from
this is about being
manager
a striker, though. This doesn't have to do with his. Are we talking about the striker thing?
Yeah. Luciano Spalletti, Juventus manager Luciano Spalletti, actually praised McKennie, saying he has all the attributes of being a perfect central striker following the 3-0 win over Napoli. It was actually Spalletti that highlighted nil. Sorry. Spalletti highlighted limitations in Canadian striker Jonathan David's game. McKennie's a perfect striker, one of the strongest as a center forward. He plays to get results, perfect as a striker. McKennie has been a utility player, playing right wing back, left wing back, right wing, left wing, and so on and so forth. He's played a lot of different positions, so now maybe striker is the conversation here. I know it's about him being a striker. I was just saying that he's had a great year so far. Wasn't necessarily talking about him being a striker, as just kind of setting all this up. But I do think it's interesting that he's referring to him as a striker and says he has all the skills and the tools to be able to make him the perfect striker in the middle. And I think, obviously, when you hear this, for you and I immediately start thinking about the U.S. men's national team. I don't necessarily think about what he's doing at Juventus. I think about, what does this mean for the USA? Because when we've looked at the season that Weston McKennie has had, again, outside of Christian Pulisic, I think he's had the best calendar club season of any U.S. men's national team player. But could he be our number one option up top as a striker? Could that be something that Weston McKennie could slide into? I know that it's not his natural position, and that's not where I projected him. That's not where you projected him, Ryan. But, you look at what Fuller and Balogun, 15 matches, 4 goals, 1 assist, you got a pair of yellow cards. He really started off well, but, Flo hasn't necessarily been tearing things up through 15 matches that he's played. And I know that he's obviously dealt with injury issues, much like a lot of the different U.S. men's national team players are. And that obviously is a concern going into the new year. But why not try Weston McKennie out in that spot? I mean, if you have his manager saying that he has all the tools, and I think a motivated Weston McKennie is someone that, right alongside, I know I said Jedi was the missing piece for this U.S. men's national team. Christian Pulisic, just being Christian Pulisic, is going to make a big difference. But I think the other of those pillars is a motivated Weston McKennie might be one of our most dangerous options from a striker perspective. Could he be someone that slots in as that number one striker for us? And if so, where does that put Flo Balogun in all this?
I like that
I don't
you're
know.
trying to
I'm
create
just asking questions.
I like that you're trying to create a possible narrative here. No, Weston McKennie's not going to play striker for us. The only way he plays striker for us is if we have a horrible injury crisis during the World Cup. That's the only way Weston McKennie goes and plays striker. No, McKennie's not going to play striker for us. Nate, I like that. I like the narrative driven here. I like that you're trying to drive a narrative here, but no, Weston McKennie will not be playing striker for us. The only way that I can see Weston McKennie actually playing striker for us is if you have to change something up tactically in a game. Look, Flo Balogun is going to be the starting striker barring injury. That's just a given. We all know that. Pepe, probably the second regarding injury. Josh Sargent, honestly, I think the whole mess right now, I don't even know if he gets in the team at this point. Ajima might get into the team. Haji Wright might get into the team. No, there's different options, and I think McKennie, the midfield with McKennie and Adams will be really good. They've played together a handful of times. They played together in the last World Cup in 2022. No, McKennie's not playing striker. The only way I see it, massive injury crisis during the World Cup, or if you want to change something up in the last 15 or 20 minutes. But no, I think you got to put your best players in their right spots. I'm not changing things up just because and McKennie hasn't even played striker yet. We don't even know if McKennie's any good at striker. Yeah, you can have all the tools, but how many times have we seen athletes in any sport be like, wow, they have such great physical attributes. They're such a physical specimen. They don't do anything. Shout out Zion Williamson. Ain't doing nothing in the NBA. But, no. We can't have McKennie playing striker. He's going to say he's going to play center mid. Maybe you put him in the last 10, 15 minutes of a game if you have to see a game out or try to grab an equalizer. Sure. But no. McKennie is – I would rather see it depending on the game. I'd rather see, let's see, who else would I rather see? I'd rather see a Pulisic play as a number 9 than a McKennie because you can drop him in and play him as a false 9 and distribute out wide and drop into those pockets of space. Hell, you could put a Gio Reyna in as a number 9 and because he's so good at finding those pockets of space and distributing the ball. But no, Weston McKennie is not a striker. Also, how did I not get any love on the bottom here? I said McKennie got that Zach McKinstry in him. How did you not immediately point that out? How did you not just laugh at it?
I didn't catch it. At the bottom of the graphic, is that what you're talking about?
Look at the bottom
McKennie got that Zach McKinstry.
Utility guy. I don't know how you didn't see it.
Utility guy. That's a good line from you, Ryan. A really good line. Yeah, no, the proximity to the World Cup is, I'm not saying it was the right choice or it would even be the right choice or that it's anything more than just simply a fantasy to picture Weston McKennie as being our lead striker. And I know that we've already had conversations about how you would almost prefer Christian Pulisic to be in the middle. And we've all kind of agreed that it would be nice to see him in the middle and that he should be. And I think it would just be really hard, especially for Mauricio Pochettino, even if Spalletti says that he has the tools and the ability to play that position, it's really hard to me to justify switching someone out of their natural position on your team and putting them in that spot this close to the World Cup. I mean, if this is something you want to investigate on down the line, well, then I guess that's different than what we're seeing right now. But maybe that was just him noticing the fact that he does possess the abilities to do so. But I think we're past the we're past the true experimental stage, because now when you
hope.
look at the sides that the yeah, me too. But the sides that the U.S. men's national team has leading up to the World Cup, it just doesn't. It's not play around time anymore. Like, this is like we're hitting the ground running.
I'll say this for any proper international side, what happens at the club level, the professional club level, doesn't really factor anything into the national team level because it's different scenarios, it's different
Yeah.
situations, it's different playing styles, it's all different. Yeah, McKennie
Yep.
can go play as striker for Juventus for the rest of the season if they really need him to, which again I find ironic that Jonathan David can't be the guy to do it for Juventus because he's Canadian. I like that. I like that. But no, you can't just because, he might play striker doesn't mean that he's going to play striker for the US. Like I look at a guy like Zinchenko who for Ukraine, he's played left back he plays left back for every club that he's been on. But yet
Yep.
he plays in his preferred role center mid for Ukraine all the time. Look at a guy like Mikel Merino who sometimes he plays striker for Arsenal, but when he plays for Spain, he drops in and plays center mid like he normally does. So whatever happens at the club level doesn't always translate to the international level because of all the different scenarios. And you also got to think here, the clubs are they're playing two, sometimes 3 games in 7 days, 7 or 8 days. So you have to, there's so much more film on you. There's so much more ways that you have to create chances for yourself to ultimately win games and score goals. And you're playing in different competitions week in, week out. You're playing in the Champions League, you're playing in Europa, you're playing in your league, you're playing in domestic cups. So there's different scenarios all the single time. So that's why these managers at the pro level experiment a little bit differently with different players and different roles and different positions. And that's why Juventus ultimately wants to put a Weston McKennie at striker. And again, props to Weston McKennie for being such a versatile player and wanting to do whatever he can for his team. That's why we see Tim Weah playing right wing back for Marseille at certain times. So yeah, it's definitely a conversation that we can have and say, yeah, can Weston McKennie play striker for the U.S.? I don't have any doubts that he can't because he's such a good player. But no, to say that he would start for us and play consistent minutes in the World Cup as our number 9, I think that's a little overreaching it. But no, it's hey, props to Wes McKennie. And again, I thought this guy was supposed to be sold and no one really liked him over there, but all of a sudden they want him to play all these different roles, and then people get mad at us for saying that there's some bias here. Like this guy does everything he needs for the club, and the fans seem to like him. He plays so well year in, year out, but no one likes him. He's got to make his spot. He's got to earn his spot every single year. So no, to say that there's not a bias is just blasphemous at this point. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't believe what all the publications have to say. We know that media kind of drives that whole circus. So, it could be that they love him at the club. It could be his teammates love him. Could be the community loves him. But the media, again, they have it out for American players.
Don't want to see an American be good.
That
God
very
forbid
well
an American
be it,
soccer player
but
got some wiggle.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, he's got versatility and he has range, clearly. So that's not a bad thing. That's actually a very good thing, all things considered, for the U.S. men's national team. But let's take a break here on Inside the Game. First, we'll tell you a little bit about our summer camps coming up. FC Bayern Summer Camps, proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, fostering football excellence across North America. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, FC Bayern camps deliver elite training inspired by FC Bayern Munich's world-class philosophy. Select your city. Start a promising soccer path right now and save $30 on registration by using promo code BayernNSN30. It's BayernNSN30 or scan the QR code on your screen. Learn more at fcbayernyouth.com. And we're back in on Inside the Game. My name's Nate Wangler. He's Ryan Glinsky. Wanted to mention this very quickly coming out of break. One of our biggest club partners, people that we love being around and obviously calling their games, the place where the game really lives and breathes, especially here in the state of Michigan. The Flint City Bucks are back at it again. More breaking news. They'll be taking on Forward Madison. They will be hosting Forward Madison in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. We'll play in Grand Blanc, Michigan. That one coming up on March 19th of this year at 6:30. So actually coming up. So it might be a little chilly, but that one coming up. And again, it will happen at Grand Blanc. So very cool to see Flint City involved in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. It is the oldest such tournament, I believe, in professional sports in the U.S., isn't it? Like over 100 years of the U.S. Open Cup. I forget how many years total. But that's a really exciting opportunity for Flint and another great chance for that club to really put themselves on the map. I'm sure they've been ecstatic with seeing the progression of one Donovan Phillip, as we talked about. He just signed a 2-year deal with Colorado, and certainly he won't be the last of that crop of players that end up going through and getting professional contracts.
Yeah, since 1914. It started in it was first won by Brooklyn Field Cup. But it was originally named the National Challenge Cup and then renamed in 1999, excuse me, for Lamar Hunt. So shout out to all them. No, it's a great thing, and I think that is as we kind of move as a country, which obviously we'll talk about the USL pyramid today at some point, and I feel like the U.S. is in the game of soccer is starting to finally go in the right direction after I really think the 2018 missing the World Cup started to become a blessing in disguise. I've always said that. But back to the U.S. Open Cup. Yeah, you're right. One of the oldest cup competitions. It's really good to have that field because it's a knockout competition. It's single elimination. And if you kind of look at a league setup, a league table, you kind of know who's going to win it all. You kind of have like that set 3 or 4 teams, and that happens in every sport. It's not just soccer, basketball, football, etc. It happens in every sport. But when it comes to single elimination, I think that's the best thing that there is. Look at March Madness. We've seen a couple 1 seeds go down. We've seen a couple of 2 seeds go down to 15. Shout out Middle Tennessee State for my Michigan State fans out there. Shout out them. But no, it's great, and we've seen a lot of cup upsets, even in the U.S. and all across the world, and I think it's a great thing. And hearing some of the interviews from the Flint City and the Flint City higher ups and the Grand Blanc mayor of it's going to bring a community back together. It's very good for the community, and especially for Grand Blanc, and it's a very good thing. And also, that's going to help grow the sport when you have this massive of a cup tie in your own backyard.
Yeah, and let's hope it only helps continue to allow Flint more opportunities to build on what they have and develop something better. I mean, I like the fact that they play at Kettering University, but we talked about the arms race in soccer. Maybe that eventually hits home in Flint, Michigan. Obviously, we've seen Detroit City FC take a massive step forward. I would not be shocked to see Flint City get a lot of help from the USL to continue to get better, just simply because of the history that they have behind that organization. So congratulations to Flint City and hosting that U.S. Open Cup game. Let's move on to our second topic of the day today, an opportunity for high school athletes here in the state of Michigan to make a little bit more money when it comes to the NIL game. And Ryan, the truth is that everybody wants a piece of the pie, rightfully so, right? If you're going to dedicate the amount of time that you do to playing the sport, you may as well get something out of it. The MHSAA approved expanded NIL rules following individual student athletes to earn through things like social media promotions, appearances, match and endorsements without pay for play, collectives, or school involvement. The goal: give athletes opportunities while keeping competitive balance intact across the state. So I guess I'm curious, does this mean high school athletes then? This means high school athletes with more opportunities to make money, or are we talking about once they graduate and get to college, more opportunities to do so?
You can get paid in high school. Like, you can get paid as a 16-year-old.
Wow. So this is...
Can I just quote Taylor?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
What are we doing? We are giving high school athletes like money now. First off, who's even going to pay this? Second off, what 16-year-old kid should be getting tens of thousands of dollars for playing a high school sport? Third, 99% of these kids aren't even going to get paid. Like, you look at it, like if we look at Bryce Underwood for crying out loud at Belleville, how much money would he have gotten if he was just playing at Belleville? Like, you already have your money coming over from Michigan when you're a senior, and I'm sure LSU. Like we talked about, or I don't know if you've heard, Nate, but Georgia, University of Georgia football, they pay their commits that are, if you're committed in high school, $20,000 a month to just stay committed. Like, who's even like? I'm looking at all this. Like, I'm looking at the grand scheme of things. Who wants to even pay a 15 or 16-year-old money to play a sport? Like, I'm thinking to myself, no one at my high school would be getting paid any money. Maybe two of my soccer teammates would have gotten paid money, but myself wasn't getting paid any money. Nate, I don't think you were getting paid any money. I don't know if John was. I don't know if John's getting paid money for being a high school goalie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who's getting paid money. Like, what are we doing with this? And this is my biggest thing. This is my biggest thing. You're just going to eventually create what. This just pisses me off because I hate this. You are just eventually going to start paying. You're going to create more entitled people in the world. You're going to start to pay more entitled people because you are. And that's the biggest thing I don't like in the world is entitled people. That's just my thing. That's just my own personal vendetta. So the biggest thing in this world that I constantly hear from older people is, kids don't go out there and work for it. They don't go out and work for the things anymore. They don't do this and that. Hey, I'm all for college athletes getting paid. I'm all for it. But if we start going lower to high school kids, they're just going to think they're $1 million right away. And the biggest thing I think out of all of this is because I don't know if you've read recently about the transfer portal, but there's still 12,000 kids in the transfer portal that don't have teams because they got someone got in their head and said you can make X amount of money here, X amount of money here, and you can get paid more money here in college. But you get to the transfer portal and no one has money for you, and then you try to go back to your team and no one has a spot for you. So if you're a high school athlete, there's going to be agents that all of a sudden start talking to you. Yeah, you can go make $5,000 if you transfer to this high school. Then all of a sudden you get to the high school and they don't have the money for you because you were given a bad financial decision. We are putting, again, if you're talented and you think you're worth some money, yeah, go ahead. But at the same time, these aren't even 18-year-old kids. You're going to be paying 16, 17-year-old, maybe 15-year-olds money. It's just a dumb decision. What? This is just annoying. Like, this is just dumb. And you're going to you're going to give bad financial decisions to these teenagers. Stupid.
We knew that there was going to be a trickle down at some point. We've already seen it in terms of recruiting and transferring. There are certain schools, for example, in the state of Michigan over here on the west side of the state, if you play football and you go to Mona Shores High School, you're not staying at Mona Shores High School in Muskegon.
Hey, leave Mona Shores alone with it, all right?
Or not Mona Shores. You're staying at Reese Puffer. Sorry, I got the team wrong. If you're going to Reese Puffer, you're not staying at Reese Puffer. You're going to Mona Shores.
Give Mona Shores some love. I got family that works in the district and goes there. Give them some love.
You're going to Muskegon. You're going to Muskegon Catholic. You're going to any one of those.
Grand Haven? Is that one that people will stay at or go to?
No, they will leave in droves.
Leave Grand Haven.
Actually, yes.
I thought Grand
Haven football. Yes. Oh my God, no,
I thought they had a beautiful facility.
They've been terrible for a long. I'm sure they do, but they've been terrible for a long time.
Okay.
No, they train on the beach, which is brutal. I don't know why. That would be terrible. But anyways, all that to be said, We knew that there was going to be a trickle down eventually to the high school game. We've already seen this happen in increments. I know because I went to a Catholic school. I know how the recruiting goes. I know how the transfer thing goes. This has already been starting, but now the money component of it is the second layer to that, and it's starting to creep into the high school game. And I can sit here and say conclusively that it's wrong and it shouldn't happen, but I think there's a little bit more gray area in this, and it's for a couple of reasons. Number one, I don't think schools do a good enough job of teaching kids how to properly manage their money.
Oh,
I think
100%.
early on in life, there really is relatively zero education in terms of, okay, I have a certain amount of money. What do I do with this money? Do I invest it? Do I put it here? How do I turn $1 into $5? These are things that even when I was getting into adulthood, and especially after college, it was more of a baptism by fire with me. Simply because, yeah, I mean, I knew certain things about put your money away, don't spend all of it, but really that's just the first layer of financial literacy. And so kids are not getting those lessons. And so I think if we're giving them pathways in order to make money off of their image and likeness and appearances and maybe doing like small budget commercials or whatever the heck the case may be for them making money, I'm cool with teaching these athletes a little bit of financial responsibility before they get into college and they start making millions upon millions of dollars. Now,
Or
this is
any
not a
student.
fair system, or any student, right? Exactly right, Ryan. Now, this is not a fair system in which everybody gets paid XYZ amount of money. But the other side of this is that even at a young age, if we are going to incentivize being in the community more, doing these appearances, doing these media hits, and you get money out of it, at least we're teaching you how to handle yourself in a way that is more professional and more adapted to what you are going to experience at the Division 1 or Power 5 level in the US versus coming into it without really a clue as to how to handle all that stuff. I'm cool with the media literacy side. I'm cool with teaching these kids what it's like to actually have your face out places and to be able to handle that pressure. Because I think that's something that is really important. Now, in all of this, the scariest part is when you start talking about when you're inserting adults into the conversation, and now it feels like we're buying and selling athletes at the high school level, much like they would do at the college or at the NFL level. Like when high school sports gets to a point to where it starts to feel professional, that's when I
Oh
believe that
boy.
that you talk about this bubble bursting. When we're looking at 15, 16-year-olds and okay, I'll spend this much amount of money if he comes and he plays here. First of all, I think this needs to be realized, Ryan, that money's not going into their pockets. You realize that, right? Like the 15, 16-year-old is not getting that money. You know who's getting that money, right? It's the agent, or it's mom, or it's dad, or it's somebody else. Like they are not financially benefiting from this. Now they might get something out of it, if they're like, "Mom, can I get this new pair of shoes?" I'm sure their mom would be willing to give them whatever thousands of dollars it takes to get whatever they want, but cuz whatever. But they're not the ones that are making that money. So all of this stuff about financial literacy and teaching them how to be better with money and really preparing them for the NIL Wild West that is college athletics, are we actually going to do that? Or is this going to turn into an opportunity for parents and agents to be like, hey, shake hands, the kid's going to go do this and we'll just pocket the money that we're making from it? Because again, these are kids and there's no one more susceptible in our society than kids who don't understand what the world is like. So that's where it becomes scary for me. It's not necessarily that the kids are going to have some sort of financial backing. It's that mom and dad and everybody else around is going to see, hey, dollar signs, it's all about us, and it's not necessarily about the betterment of the kid.
Yeah,
So
I
this this
think
that's where it gets scary
I think we
in my
can
mind.
I think we can go without creative writing classes in high school, and we can just teach, like, again, it doesn't have to just
Yeah,
be an athlete. It can be any student. I mean,
I agree.
you can
Oh, in hindsight, yeah, I wish we had that.
you could put
Even woodworking.
a financial 101 class or something. I don't know how what you would do, but just just give them some basic stuff. Like my first year off campus at Central, like I was horrible with my money. I bought a lot of stupid things that I didn't need, and then obviously now I'm much better. But I just was wasting money on stupid things, and I was buying stupid
Yeah.
things with food and stuff when I could have just like went down the aisle and bought something that was cheaper and tasted the same, and just because of the label, that's what makes it more money. But that's not the point here. But at
Yeah.
what point do we just start saying like, shoot, are we gonna start paying middle schoolers? Are we gonna start paying 5-year-old AYSO kids? Are we gonna start paying travel at
Yeah.
some point travel sports
I mean,
like you're supposed to pay for it, but at what point do these travel teams start paying the kids to come play for their travel sport? Like it's it's just gonna continue to trickle down, and I think at some point in a couple years, I think this whole NIL thing is just gonna burst into flames, and it's just gonna be like, no, you're not getting this money anymore. Like, at what point do the donors start saying, this is stupid, this is dumb, I'm not getting an ROI anymore? Like, this is the stupidest thing that we could have done. Like, I think when we look about when Bobby Bonilla's contract is up in 2035, I think we're going to look in 2035 and look back on all this and be like, how stupid was what was going on in college sports or high school sports up at this point? Like, it's stupid. And I will say this for the people that are like, wow, the private schools are going to run shit again. Well, they've been doing it regardless. It's been
yeah.
happening for in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 10s, the 20s. Like, it happens regardless. So my proposal to all this is just make separate state championships for just the private schools, like what the state of Alabama does. The state of Alabama for football just creates a private school playoff system. They just were like, well, you know what? Since everyone has such an ordeal with this, public school you play just against public school for a state title, private school you play against private school for a state title. That's all it is. And I mean, I guess you could say like, well, they've been paying these kids regardless for years. Sure, but at the same time, there's still some tuition that these kids maybe they get like a full ride scholarship. Again, I don't know these conversations, but I know this, that the tuition that the students pay goes towards the teachers' salaries. That's what it boils down to. Some of the athletes, yeah, you might get a little bit of benefit of the doubt, but if I'm looking at this, if the private schools dominate, just make separate tournaments, make separate playoffs, and let the public schools play the public schools, let the private schools play the private schools, and we're going to be one happy family at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always tricky, right? They always do it under the guise of we're trying to give them an education. We're trying to give them a leg up in life, but realistically, exactly who you're going after. So I've heard that idea thrown around quite a bit. The only thing that makes me hesitate is like I do look at certain public school programs that have actually been pretty good for a very long time. So like it makes me wonder like why can't. But then again, like we talked about earlier, like all it takes, especially in high school ball, is just one or two guys. Like if you get one or two guys that transfer into your program that are really good, that are next level, that could be enough to carry you as far as you need it to carry you. So yeah, it is definitely a conversation we have a lot. No, I think it's an interesting topic. And I think if they're gonna be the ones to make the money for these high schools with ticket sales or whatever the heck the case may be to bring money in, much like in the college level, I think they deserve some sort of financial backing. But are we going to create a system that actually works? Do I trust that the MHSAA is going to create a system that is viable? No, I don't actually believe that. So. Well, it's yet to be seen, but we'll certainly figure it out. But let's take another break. We'll come back, wrap up our soccer conversation, then we'll get into all sports. But first, let's talk a little bit about Barca Academy here on the National Soccer Network. They're a proud sponsor of NSN, the official academy of FC Barcelona in the United States. Designed for boys and girls ages 6 to 18, Barca Academy follows and replicates the FC Barcelona game model. Same philosophy used by Barca's professional team right now. You can save $30 on registration by using promo code FCB30. Again, that's FCB30. Or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you, fcbarcelona.us/camps.
In Barca camp, I see my son grown on and off of the field. Don't miss the time to register.
Sign up now
for
for
Barca
Barca
Camp.
Camp.
And here we go. Final segment of hour one here on Inside the Game, episode 217. And we wanted to talk on this. We did a little bit yesterday. We were actually comparing the USL to Major League Soccer, which
It was
league is
announced
the
right
best in
after the
terms
show.
of
I thought that was hilarious.
prospects. Oh, yeah. This
It was
is
announced
hilarious.
right
Yeah.
after.
Good timing on that. But the new USL pyramid connected three-tier pathway designed to support competition, promotion, and relegation and growth across more communities in the United Soccer League. So you have the USL Premier Division 1, the national table launching in 2028. That's the top tier of the men's pathway. Then you have the USL Championship D2, balanced schedule, more than 15 years, highly recommended or highly competitive pro soccer. And then the new USL League 1. So that'll be a regional format, local rivalries, national footprint. So it's three different tiers. So you got two national tables. You got the championship right under the Premier, much like another league we know of that's over in Europe. And then you have League 1 right underneath that. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't that the third level to the European Premier League Championship, and then is it League 1 right underneath
Yeah, it's
Championship?
it's very English-like.
Yeah, and well, I guess it makes sense when you have people who helped run the Premier League in your league, that it's going to look a little bit like this. So it's starting to form, it's starting to come together. This gives us a better understanding of what everything is going to actually look like in terms of promotion and relegation, and teams spread across the country. So it's really, they're taking it from, again, this kind of grassroots approach with the regional format and bringing it all the way to the top with the USL Premier Division 1. Ryan, what are your first thoughts when you look at the way that this is broken down and what the USL had to say?
I just think we're heading in the right direction. I think that's we're eventually going to get to the right direction. I also think that at some point the MLS and the USL are going to merge at some point, because I think if you look at a lot of these teams, I don't know if some of these USL teams, I think a couple of them we know, the DCFCs, the Pittsburghs, the Louisvilles, they can all, stay together. Like they can all they can manage on their own with this relegation system, pro rel system, I should say rather. But I think at some point, some of these clubs that are in the USL, I think, if they continue to go down levels, what does that mean? Well, you're not going to get some of that broadcasting money. You're not going to necessarily get maybe some of the tickets. You might not get some of that exposure that you can get at a higher level. And that's one thing that I'm a little bit concerned about in terms of that, is how many clubs are we going to lose at some point? And I think
Yep.
eventually we're going to get to a merger. And because the MLS sides, they're so financially backed, it's not even funny that eventually you're going to
Yep.
put these MLS teams and these USL teams that can stand, kind of on their own at this point, and some of the higher ones are eventually we're going to merge. And I think some of these MLS teams and these USL teams will eventually create their own pyramid and their own USA ranks in terms of pro soccer. And I think it's a perfectly fine thing. I think that's a really good thing. At some point, we're going to get to that point. But I really think we're starting to
Yep.
head in the right direction. I mentioned that a little bit with the U.S. Open Cup when we talked about Flint City. I think we're eventually going to get things in the right way. And I will say this, you'll hear me say this as long as I'm on the show and I'm on the network. 2018 was a blessing in disguise. When we missed the World Cup in 2018, we realized that we can't do things the American way. We have to eventually start to do things in not the European model, but the way the rest of the world handles its things. I think we realized that, you know what? We aren't the best at this thing. We aren't the best like we normally are in all these other sports. We've kind of have to adapt to the rest of the world, and we're starting to see more academies built into these to these pro clubs, whether that's USL or MLS. We're starting to see players eventually go overseas, take that risk, see if they can make it over there in the best of the world, and we're also now starting to see pro rel start to be adapted. I don't know how well the clubs are going to do in terms of a financial thing because we've seen a couple teams, no longer exist in the USL. But you know what? I think we're heading in the right direction, and I still think 2018 missing the World Cup is our biggest blessing in disguise, whether we liked it or not. I mean, would you want to go to Russia to go play in a World Cup for a couple of months? No, I think a lot of people would rather not go to Russia. So anything, blessing in disguise once again with 2018, and I'm glad we lost to Trinidad on that horrible night. But no, my first thought process, Nate, is we're heading in the right direction.
It felt like a passing of old into the new. It felt like, to your point, that 2018 was just really kind of the moment where, you're right, everything changed. Where we, it was a lot of old legends on that team. I guess Landon Donovan wasn't. Tim Howard, Landon Donovan. Landon, I don't think Landon Donovan was on the team, but he was still playing. He was just old. But you have Clint Dempsey, you have all of those guys, and for the purpose that they served during their career with the U.S. men's national team, they did a wonderful job, right? They had their moments. Tim Howard had the Belgium game. Clint Dempsey is obviously Clint Dempsey. You remember some of his signature moments in the World Cup leading up to that one. And like his goal against Ghana, which is one that always exists in the YouTube reels. Landon Donovan in the long decorated history he had with the U.S. men's national team. And then obviously their signature wins or their signature matches when they ended Spain's 35-some game winning streak, when they went out and they drew with Portugal, and they were somehow able to emerge out of that group of death. Yeah, I mean there were moments that they had just because they were gutsy and they were forward, and Bruce Arians, I think maybe to his detriment at times, but was just so he played the game in their way, which was physical, it was forward, it was everything, and for what it was worth, it really served its purpose. But I think in 2018, that was the moment where U.S. Soccer looked at this and went, it's just not a sustainable model. We can't continue to go this way. We have to be willing to accept and be comfortable with owning the fact that there are people in the world that know a lot more about how to build this machine than we do. And so I think that's when the decision, obviously, yeah. So, I mean, obviously they went back to an American manager shortly thereafter, but even then, after that fact, we've seen a lot more European influence, obviously, in the American game. It's made all of the difference in the world. But when I look at this and talking about a merger, I know that maybe one day it will happen. I think it is I'm willing to look at it and go, you know what? It's going to happen. Naturally, the two sides are going to collide. Right now, they're already competitors. Whether or not Major League Soccer wants to admit that they're competitors, I feel like Major League Soccer is treating this like, oh, they're just the other guys. No, I think they're catching up, and they're catching up quickly. But the only day that Major League Soccer is actually going to be willing to come to the table and have a conversation about a potential merger is if USL is able to push them off the mountaintop. Now, I mean the mountaintop in the U.S., not the mountaintop in the world. Clearly, it's the Major League Soccer is still down the list. But the only way for those discussions to ever happen is for the USL to build a product that is genuine enough, that draws enough fans, enough money, enough support, enough coverage in order to they can look at the MLS and go, hey, look, like we're challenging you for your spot. And here's the biggest swinging part of this whole conversation, right? This is the elephant in the room. The USL needs to steal a prospect away from Major League Soccer. The USL needs to prove that they can sign someone or that they can get someone to come from Major League Soccer to come play in that top division, the premier division in the United Soccer League, which again, as we've seen, is not happening until 2028. So even what we're
a young prospect, or are we talking like a pro that's already been established, but he comes back? What are we talking here? Because they've produced
could be either or could be no. Well, okay, so I guess in
they
that
produce prospects
they produce
that
players
go to the MLS.
Right. But what I'm talking about is someone coming to the United States that they're able to take away from Major League Soccer. Like Messi went to the MLS. That the USL does not have anything that will even come relatively close to attracting someone like a Messi or Son Heung-min or any of these players.
They're not going to have the money to do it.
I get that. No, I get that. But that is somewhere on down the line. If they ever want to threaten to push MLS off of its throne in the United States, that's another big component of this. But that's the only time that the MLS is going to be willing to come to the table and go, yeah, let's merge or let's do something together, better together. Because right now the USL is, again, it's building and we like how authentic it is. But I think that's the only time that those conversations are had.
I don't think it has anything to do with the player. I think it has everything to do with popularity and views and everything. I think that if they start to turn fans into, if they start to take fans away and they start taking millions of fans away, yeah, you can start having that conversation. I've said the financial backing of the MLS to the USL, it's night and day. Yeah, there's a couple clubs in the USL, a couple outliers that can stand on its own, but they're not gonna be paying $10 million plus for a player. That's just not real. That's not realistic. The only way that they'll eventually be able to do that is if you start to take fans away from the MLS. And what also was mentioned is with these leagues, they're going to try to keep it a little bit more localized, a little bit more regionalized, where you can eventually create rivalries, and that's a bigger thing. I mean, there's a couple rivalries in the MLS, it feels like, but in the USL, it doesn't really feel that way. And yes, there's a couple examples, yes, you can say that are rivals. But I'm talking where it gets a little bit more heated. There's more rivalries with anyone. But they're not going to be able to take any player away, not for a long time. And the only way you can do that is if you take fans away, which is you take views over from the MLS to the USL, and you start getting some advertisement. You start getting other things. But they're not going to be taking any player away. To say a prospect, well, you can take a prospect away at any point. You can tell a prospect, hey, you're not getting any playing time in the MLS. We talked about this yesterday. That's why I said the USL pathway is better than the MLS pathway. They take a prospect, they can do it at any time. And they also produce prospects from the USL to the MLS. But they will not be taking a player away. It's just financially not possible, unless Mark Cuban shows up and finds some goes to Indy 11 and goes, here's $100 million, go buy some people. That's a little bit different. But no, for right now, nothing's going to happen. And they're not going to be able to turn that away for years.
Yeah. Well, and I like the idea of an authentic approach. I mean, you look at Major League Soccer, and part of it being so Americanized is that it is star-driven, right? Much like any other league in the United States. You look at the NBA, who do you think of? LeBron James. Look at the NFL, who do you think of? Probably Patrick Mahomes. This year it might be a little bit different, but generally that's what a lot of people think. You look at any of the leagues, any of the popular leagues, even baseball, for that matter. I know that participation in baseball is starting to fall off a cliff, but they do very good at promoting their stars, and that's what makes it an American league, whether that be Ohtani, whether that be, soccer, but they
promote overseas stars. They don't promote their own.
Yes. But even then, I think the popularity of soccer isn't necessarily driven by stars. Yes, at the highest level, the Premier League, yes, it is 100%, or the Champions League, or a lot of these high-level leagues, but the popularity really starts from what you've seen in terms of the regional matchups, in the regional teams and the regional rivalries, and the feeling as if like we have something. It's our own. It's our team. Almost kind of like a minor league feel. That is where the true authentic growth of the game really comes from. Whereas like I feel like Major League Soccer is trying to leagues have done before, which is we have these superstars that really drive our league. They really make the difference. So did you hear all of what I just said? I felt like I was kind of cutting in and out there for a second.
Not really. There's a couple things that cut out. I was looking.
Okay.
We still got some internet, so yeah, I don't know.
We still some internet. All right, it's better than none, I guess.
Yeah, no, we still one
good.
thing
All right.
went offline, but no, we're good.
All right. But that's it is, I think the MLS is really taking a turn towards wanting to be star driven, and understandably so. But that's not it's not, as we've talked about, as authentic as focusing on it from a regional perspective. All I'm saying is that I don't think MLS owners or the people who run that league are ever going to be willing to concede and to meet up with the people in the USL and shake hands and make one unified league until the USL actually threatens to take over the MLS.
Yeah,
and that could be years and years and years and years down the line.
But the thing is people like myself and a lot of like we talked about a couple weeks ago, if like we're looking at the views and why more people watch soccer over baseball or whatever, hockey, whatever it was. I don't remember the exact thing is. But I bet you a lot of those views just happen to be from the European game. That's what is. That's also what's promoted here. So and why do people like the European style is because of the pro rel system. That's what it is.
Yep.
And if that starts to entice a lot of people like myself, starts to be like, wow, there's a pro rel system. It's starting to feel a little bit more at home. It's like it feels a lot better to what it's over there. It's at home. Then you will start to take people away. But the only way is if you start to take fans, you start to take all the views, and ultimately what happens when you get more views on anything, this starts coming in. More networks want to air your stuff. More ads want, more sponsors and companies want to come and promote their stuff, and you can start to charge more. That's the only way that's going to happen. And you have to eventually start to take fans away. And that's a good step in the right direction of introducing pro rel, because a lot of people like myself, a lot of my friends, one of the reasons why they like it overseas, not just because of the stars, but because of the pro rel system. And when you go on a survival Sunday or a championship Sunday, when it comes down to the final thing, there's a lot of people are playing for stuff. And also, I'll say this. One of the biggest things in this country, biggest sports, what is it? College football. Why do people like college football? Because, well, not anymore, but a couple of years ago, it was every single game mattered. You had to, at a minimum, lose one game a year. You had to go undefeated. You had to lose one game a year. In pro rel, every single game matters. Every single point matters, because it's a matter of millions and millions of dollars based on, you could have 33 points and someone has 35. That 2-point difference could be the matter of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think. It's a crazy way to think.
Yeah. And even from growing the game from a regional popularity perspective, like we were just talking about, well, what does college athletics capitalize on that sometimes pro sports doesn't? Not every state in the South has an NFL team. Not every state in the South has an MLB team.
That's crazy too.
It is, like you go to Coastal Carolina and go watch a baseball game against like Clemson. Like it's quite literally like a high school football game in there with the amount of passion they cheer with, because they don't have a Major League Baseball team in South Carolina. So the popularity of the game in a lot of ways is driven by these regional rivalries, these teams that, again, they're in your community. Major League Soccer is not in your community. So yes, of course I'm going to go out and I'm going to watch now. It's kind of a combo of MLS Next as well as USL. If you have an MLS Next team in your community, we're going to have one. I'm going to go out and watch them. But that's still, again, you are creating popularity from a regional basis. And I think that it's a great thing to see that the USL is trying to do that. Let's take one more step aside. When we come back, we will get into our all sports content here on the National Soccer Network. But first, Manchester City Soccer Camps. They are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, bringing world-class training inspired by Man City's global football philosophy to players across the United States. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, these camps focus on technical development, decision-making, and playing the game the City way. Right now, you can save $30 on registration. Again, use promo code MCNSN30, MCNSN30, or if you see that QR code on your screen, you can go ahead and scan that as well. But find a camp near you, usacamps.mancity.com. National Soccer Network inside the game. Nate Wangler alongside Ryan Glinsky wearing his Michigan sweatshirt today because went to the Wolverines game last night. Saw them beat Nebraska, gave the Cornhuskers their first loss of the 25-26 season. That's a good win for the Blue. Going up against that team at home. Again, we're not great for a good portion of that game, but turned it on at the end the way that good teams figure out a way, and they figured out a way to win. But that was it's pretty cool environment to be a part of.
Yeah, and also I posted it's my cousin's video actually. I posted he sent me he recorded the ending and then he sent it to me, so I posted up on our Sports Nation PMG Instagram. So hey, go ahead, look at that. You can see Sam Hoiberg, that little flopper, throw up his final shot over Yaxel Lendeborg. We do have a comment we'll get to right after this, but no. The fact that they played like ass for 37 minutes of the game, like turnover, hot potato around the three-point line, get nothing inside, and then, I will say, shout out the refs. They knew exactly what they were doing in this game. They knew that they could not get the the players in foul trouble. They knew what they had to do, and that's exactly what they did. Lots of fouls miscalled, but you know what? Hey, you still get the job done. And the lady next to me, who her son actually plays baseball at Michigan. And I was like talking to her. I was like, "Oh, what's your son's name?" Because I called CMU Michigan baseball before, and I didn't recognize the name. But he's gonna be a sophomore up there, so shout out to them. She goes, "They're just trying to get our money's worth out of these tickets." And I was like, "That, you know what? That's a good way of putting it. You get a close game over a blowout. I guess you really get your money's worth." But no, Nebraska.
Yep.
Nebraska. They went 10 of 17 in the first half from three. Not going to win many games like that if you're Michigan, but you know what? That's a sign of champions, finding a good way to get things done. Hey, by the way, Friday we'll talk Michigan State basketball. Big one at the Breslin on Friday, another top 10 matchup with those two. Michigan State also called one out in Piscataway yesterday. But this comment, again, we talked about the USL Pyramid Soccer real quick from Anthony Puchetti 8779 says there would have to be local cultures in America that support soccer teams like in Europe for American fans to have a sense that this is ours. I think that's exactly what USL is trying to do compared to the MLS. The MLS we've talked about Americanized. Like we look at we look for ourselves. Yeah, the Tigers, the Lions, the Red Wings, like, yeah, that feels like that's ours. But that's also decades and decades and generations of families supporting a
Yeah.
team. And
Mm-hmm.
soccer's all new. Like a lot of these soccer teams are 10, maybe 15 years old, but really they're all about 10 years old. And it's all starting to feel that way. Like if we look at a DCFC, all these fans that walk down through the Hamtramck neighborhoods to get to Keyworth, going at the bar beforehand to go, drink with the fans and then walk over to the stadium. It's starting to feel like that, but at the same time, it's going to take a while because the NFL teams, the NHL, the MLB teams, NBA, that's generations of fans, decades of fans. Soccer's new, but we're eventually starting to get there. And I think that you're starting to get that feel a little bit with some of these USL teams.
Yeah, and the biggest thing in my mind is the thing we have to pay attention to is that there are communities like that already exist in the USL. Is it every single place in which these teams exist? No. I don't want to tear down any one particular team, but I mean, I look at a club that I cover over here in Grand Rapids, like a Midwest United. They have people that stop by their games. They have people that come out and watch, but the facility in which they play, it's not necessarily designed to hold a bunch of people. They're not really all that necessarily popular. They don't get a ton of people to come out and come to their games, which I wish it was more, because I know the people that are on the team and obviously calling games for them. So that is, there are teams that are like that, or teams that play on high school stadiums or in places where it's like, this isn't really the environment that we're trying to build here. There's only 10 people in the building. But then you look at the other side, the other extreme of this example, you look at the Vermont Green. You look at that supporter section and how crazy those people are. You look at Annapolis.
Got people sitting on porta potties trying to watch games on top of
you look at Annapolis is a great example. You look at even Flint City, they tend to pack people out. You look at, who else am I thinking of? Pittsburgh, I think, is another good example. They have a great following with their USL franchise. So to say that, in order to you're right, in order to have it work, the fan bases have to be there and they have to show up. But I would just invite you to actually look at the map in the different places across this league and look at the places where it is living and breathing and thriving. A lot of it on the East Coast, obviously with Pittsburgh and Vermont and everything else. So it is going to take a few years to build those fan bases in the places where maybe it's a little bit more barren. But the USL has some of that. And I think that's why you're seeing them build up as much as they are, because they see the momentum that they are creating and they're seeing the popularity begin to increase. If they didn't see that, I don't think they would be doing all these projects and making all these changes, especially for these organizations. Yep. So I agree with that. I definitely agree with the comment that he's saying, though.
Yeah, Anthony, another one. Again, if you guys want to get active at all in the chat, like, look, if you guys want to talk about, certain things, we will. You just gotta let us know. Get in any of the chat or our YouTube chat, and let us know. But Anthony, another one. Again, if I said your name wrong, correct me. But he says,
I think Anthony deserves a bag, a Salt Athletic bag.
Ooh, yeah, that's true. You also get a horn too. Yeah, he could get
live
a Salt
comment.
Hey, Anthony, just head over to our Instagram. Drive us a follow, Nat Soccer TV. Put a hashtag NSN Salt giveaway. Could absolutely be in the running. And to win it, and if no one comments on it, you win. Anyway, he says regional fan bases in Europe not only have regional loyalty, they also belong to ethnic cultures. It's like tribalism. Love for the game is built into the culture. America doesn't have that. Well, again, soccer is fairly new in America. Like, we're thinking since the 90s, but it really was kind of introduced, but it's starting to get there. We talked about how soccer is one of the most viewed sports for people under the age of 40. And we don't have that soccer culture here in America yet. We have a football culture. We have a basketball culture. There's a baseball culture. There's hockey. Soccer's not there, but it's getting there, and we're starting to see that with a ton of leagues. Obviously, a lot of travel soccer. We're seeing all the popularity. Why do you think so many people? Why do so many people think that college football fan bases are cults? because it's built into the culture here in America. It's built into their communities. Soccer's starting to eventually get there with everything. But again, it's going to take some time. It's going to take decades. And we talked about all these sports. Like, hey, my family Michigan fandom comes from the 80s. So 90, 2000. It's like 40 years, 50 years damn near of being a fan. And Nate can probably agree to the same kind of background there, but that's 50 years. The soccer background in my family is about 12, maybe 15 years. So there's a little bit of a difference in all this. But again, it's going to get there. It's just going to take a lot of time.
From an ethnic perspective, now we are ethnic, religious, cultural. The U.S. is such a melting pot that you don't really look at certain communities or areas inside of the city and you're like, yeah, everybody from there is Irish or everybody from this part of the city is German and we all share this common ancestry and that's what binds us to this team that's in our area. The U.S. is a big, massive melting pot. Like me, my neighbors, everybody is a mutt. Everybody is mixed with something. That's just the way the United States is. I can't say that culturally that we're very similar to a lot of places in Europe because we don't all have similar ancestry. My neighbor might be completely different than my other neighbor is completely different from me, completely different ancestral backgrounds. So there's no way. And our country, Ryan, our country is only what? Not even 300 years old or just over 300 years? What? 1776. Let's do the math here, So like we haven't been around for that long, which means that we don't all share common ancestry.
We'll be 250 this year.
250. There we go. We don't all share common ethnic backgrounds. Where the regional thing comes into play is like the types of foods that you serve in that area. The types of, so regional taste is a big thing. Regional language, people that are just associated that are notable in those areas coming out and investing in those places. Those are the things that make in terms of, Michigan. So what is Michigan known for? Well, they always have the marching band march through the middle of the tailgate. They're known for potholes. Yep, that's a big one. They're known for Zingerman's Deli. I know that obviously chili is a huge thing. The chili tailgate at the University of Michigan, that's been a thing for the last 20, 30 years, right? But that started when my uncle was playing in the 70s, and I wasn't even born during that time. For reference, we've only had professional soccer in the United States since the 90s. Okay, so this tradition of eating chili at tailgates at the University of Michigan is actually about 20 years older, and this is my own personal family tradition, is 20 years older than the highest level of pro soccer in the U.S., which is Major League Soccer. So Ryan's completely correct. Like, we have these regional things that make different parts of the state unique. If you were to go to a game in Arkansas, I would certainly hope you would get some barbecue. I imagine that's probably the best barbecue. Yes, anywhere down south. It's probably the best you've ever had in your life. But like everybody has something different. LSU, you got the shrimp broil and you got, people. Yeah. There are regional things about us, but it's not like Europe where we all have a shared common ancestry. That's just not all that common in the United States because we're so mixed up over here. But the other thing is yeah, I mean, you can't expect that in under 3 decades time.
Yeah, no. But yeah, that's all the comments we got so far. But if anyone has, appreciate
genuinely,
the comments, Anthony. Appreciate it.
We will take any live commentary. We got another one coming in.
It says from Anthony, most Euro Americans since the mid 20th century are rootless because of social engineering. I guess.
I don't really.
I don't have an answer.
Rootless because of social. Well, I know where my roots. I've done ancestry.com. I know a lot. I'm actually distantly related to the mafia. Ryan, do you know that? Nice. You know who Vito Genovese is by chance? Al Capone rival. Oh yeah. Ran rings in Chicago and Detroit.
I have a great uncle that was a part of all the mob stuff in New York. And the
Really?
story is everyone knew he could park his Cadillac in any horrible spots of town, and he left it unlocked 24/7, and everyone knew who that Cadillac who belonged to, and they knew not to F with it. They knew exactly what was going on. So technically, I
That's
still
funny.
have some relationships. So
That's
I don't know.
funny.
I
My
would
grandma.
I'd like to do ancestry.com. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, my grandma used to talk about how they would go to horse races. So like something like the Kentucky Derby. I don't know if she ever went to the Kentucky Derby, but
And
the
inside
family
game moves
would
on the
always
inside, there's and they turn
yeah.
going through.
Yeah, with a microphone on a stand like I got right here.
Yeah.
But they would be up in the suite level, or they would be up in some level of the stadium where, all the rich folks were. My grandma was always confused. She's like, aren't my family members are railroad workers? Where do they get the money to do all this? Ooh.
Where does this money come from?
I wonder.
That's great.
So
That's
so
great.
that's a little family lineage on my mom's side. So I wouldn't go too fast. I think some people do understand it, but yeah, I mean there are certain people that were either brought over here or for whatever reason have lost track of their ancestry. But fortunately now we have a way of testing for that. Like literally just test your DNA and we can tell you where you're from. You might not know all the stories or all the different people, but that's something we have the technology to do. So anyways, appreciate you guys dropping in comments. Is he going to keep going? He might just carry us the rest of the show here. We got to take a break here at some point.
Yeah, we can let's take the break now. I got no comments. We can hop into whatever it is we want to talk about next. But yeah, let's
All right.
take that break.
We'll keep rolling along on the other end when we come back. You're watching Inside the Game, episode 217.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Back live on the National Soccer Network, Inside the Game. Let's get a little. Okay, I'm going to start that over again. Let's get into our all sports content a little bit here today.
Yeah,
Ryan, I wanted to.
He does talk about Caitlin Clark. Says the best example of regional support for a sport is the best fan base for women's basketball in Iowa, especially the Iowa Hawkeyes. That's where Caitlin Clark's fan base originated. Yeah, because Caitlin Clark's a dog. She's actually really good at basketball.
Actually, okay. Yeah, he brings up a good point. Does he have another comment on there?
Yeah, he says Indiana also has a basketball culture. Yeah, a lot. Some states have cultures for different sports. Like I'm looking right now, the most popular sport in 2025 for each sport. 31 of the 50 states go to football. Most of them, well, yeah, some of them are split between college and football, or college and the NFL. Hockey has three states where it is the most popular: Massachusetts, Missouri, and Nevada. Basketball, their top choice is Colorado. So yeah, some states have different sports cultures, but at the same time, we're so good at so many different sports. Some areas of the country are going to be more diverse and choose other sports. Just like
Yeah.
Europe, it's either what rugby or soccer. That's like the one of the
Or
two.
golf.
Or golf. And no,
Tennis.
who actually like thinks golf is their top favorite sport to watch? Like,
Dude, if I was good at golf, I would play golf. That's a lifetime.
No, I'm saying like this is about views. This is about like
Oh,
what would
watching
you
golf.
watch.
Yeah.
Like if your
Not my
favorite
thing.
thing to watch is golf,
yeah.
you got to be a boring person. Like I'm sorry, like I would not.
You're
going
gonna
to
get old someday, Ryan.
Huh?
You'll fall into that trap someday once you get older.
Once
know,
I'm like
life slows down a
75 and
little
don't
bit.
care about anything.
You know, I think he actually brings up a good point without even realizing he's bringing up a good point. He was making a reference to Indiana basketball, which is great. You're 100% correct. More than that, though, you want to know why people in Iowa absolutely fell for Caitlin Clark? Because she was there for longer than a year. She actually
was there for 4,
built a
right?
reputation. Yeah, she was there for all 4 years at Iowa. So not only did she build a reputation, but she built a fan base, and year after year she kept adding to that fan base because Iowa fans came back knowing we're going to be able to see Caitlin Clark. This is the thing that if you want to point to one big issue in American sports, which I hope the USL is not like this. I hope maybe some of the players that they get in these areas that the community can actually begin to build a relationship with over the course of multiple years. Because even in the what was once known as the amateur ranks here in the United States, it's now essentially professional. So we'll get players for 1 year and then they're gone. I mean, I'm doing games. I did a couple of different games in the G League this year. There were a few different players, one from Michigan, one from Notre Dame. No idea because they were there for one season. Caleb Houston was a kid. I vaguely remember his name, but I think he was at Michigan for literally a year with Juwan Howard. And
WNBA player I actually like because she doesn't constantly complain and she just hoops. And I also feel
she complains quite a bit.
Huh?
She complains quite a bit. She a mouthy one sometimes.
On the court. I'm talking about like in the media.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
okay. All right,
I'm talking
fair.
about
Media
complaining about
better.
every single thing. On the court, yeah, I think she's she complains a lot. I would agree. I would agree on that sense, but doesn't constantly go out in the media, complains about things.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, like I liked the way that she played. I like that she pulled up from 30 feet. But yeah,
it's not just Iowa fans, by the way. Caitlin Clark got popular because she was like the closest comparison that I can make. And whether or not you want to admit this is fine. I don't think she's the greatest basketball player of all time. I think some of her stats are fabricated, much like we've seen a lot of different players do this over the course of the years in the men's games, especially with double-doubles. And I just think it's a BS stat sometimes. But anyways, Angel Reese. And Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, it was like it very much kind of reminded you of like the Magic and Larry once upon a time. Like it just had that dynamic to the WNBA. Whether again, I'm not talking about the quality of the player. I'm not talking about the quality of the player. I'm talking about the character, right? Which is
fair.
So it was we created, or the WNBA. Again, we talked about leagues being star driven. Stars saved the NBA. So stars are trying to build the WNBA, right? So that's why I think women just fell in love with the two sides, because they're like, we have stars in our game now. Like, not like just another good player like Deonna Taurasi. All respect to the GOATs, but like you didn't bring, there wasn't that element of stardom that we have now in the WNBA. Now we're adding Paige Buchers, and all these other players are starting to kind of fill out that pantheon of superstars.
That's why I always felt bad for Caitlin Clark, because like the old people, the older players in the WNBA didn't like her because she's dominating. Like, and the league is all of a sudden getting publicity because of her, when these players were in the league for 10 plus years. And again, it has nothing to say that the older players in the WNBA were not good. Like, I'm not saying that. But the moment that a young star shows up in the league, all of a sudden starts dominating, there's going to be some resentment. But I'm sorry, there's no sympathy for you when you are in the league for 10 plus years. The league doesn't gain in popularity, and then all of a sudden this rookie shows up, and everyone loves watching her, and all of a sudden you start bitching because there's some resentment. No, she's fun to watch. She doesn't bitch about everything in the media. On the court, yes. In the media, no. Like there's, oh, this happened. Well, this happened. So why can't, like, no. She's good at basketball. People actually want to watch her. And the fact that, I forgot what NBA player said this. Oh, Michael Porter Jr. Michael Porter Jr. was like, yeah, dude, if girls were out there doing 360s between the legs because we lowered the rim, 100% I'm watching. I agree with you, MPJ. And then the girl and the WNBA players are like, well, I haven't seen him 360 dunk and windmill in games. Well, yeah, because Michael Porter Jr. the situation doesn't happen for him to do that, but he can 100%, he's capable of doing that. You are not capable of doing a 360 dunk in a game or in general on a 10-foot rim. So, like, no, you have to eventually make the game fun. Like, you can't just continue to do the same thing, regardless of if you're good at the sport or not. You have to be entertaining.
Yeah. But all that to be said, I mean, it's just, that's what made people cling to Caitlin Clark was the star factor of it all. They felt like they finally had their star, and so that's why everywhere she goes, the stadium fills out. And
like Nate, would we really be talking about? Would the media be talking? Would you and I be talking as much about Inter Miami if Messi wasn't there? No, we wouldn't. Or Suarez. No. Well, Suarez is an idiot anyway. Wherever he follows, people are going to talk about it because he's an idiot. But no, we would not be talking about them. Would we be talking about the Lions outside? Would people be talking about the Lions outside of Detroit if they were going continuing to go 4-13 all the time? No. But they have stars. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra, Branch, all those guys, because they're stars, so people talk about them. Why do people? No, because the Cowboys don't really have stars anymore. But why do people talk about the Patriots time and time again every single year? Because they had stars everywhere. Tom Brady, Edelman, Gronk, like there were stars everywhere. So no, it's a sports. I think anything in general, movies, shows, star driven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the popularity starts at the regional level. Again, that was the start of this whole conversation. Like the professional leagues are driven by stars, but popularity is driven by what we see at the regional level, whether that be high school, whether that be club, whether that be whatever it is. That's where it really starts. But moving on to what else we got going on. If he drops another comment, I'm willing to continue talking about what he wants to talk about. Good questions today.
He says the Caitlin Angel rivalry started with Twitter users, not the mass media. I saw that happen in April 2023. Well, it started because they hated each other. Like they
played each other in two different Final Four and a national championship.
I think they played in the national championship, and then Angel Reese started bumping into her and stuff, and mocking her and stuff. Well, at that time,
CC is also the highest scoring female college basketball player of all time, right? She has the scoring record.
Yeah, but at the same time, Twitter users, yes, they have to be putting it out there because nobody was watching the NCAA championship then because there wasn't a reason outside of if you're a fan of women's basketball, the schools, or you have someone on the team, there wasn't a reason to watch it. So yes, Nate, how do things in this world grow? Social media.
Twitter?
Twitter, yes. But social media in general. So, you and I, this show, for example, how are we able to grow stuff? You put stuff out on social media. TikTok, Instagram, YouTubes. Again, drop us a follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff everywhere. Drop us a follow, comment, you get a Salt Athletic bag, just saying. But that's how things grow in this world is right now is social media. And anyone can be a star in the social media realm if you really think about it at any point. So how that stuff grew was because of Twitter, because no one had a reason to tune into the NCAA finals back then.
It's half the reason why half these matchups, these rivalries in college football or what have you, are as intense as they are because the Twitter trolling from one year to the other. And I do my best to try and just stay on the sidelines and observe like an objective person just over here. It's tough to not get wrapped up in all that, but yeah, I mean, of course, it's a big part of it, but I don't think that's the only reason. I mean, you meet up in a Final Four and the national championship, and you have Angel Reese setting records, and you have Caitlin Clark setting records, and they don't like each other. And then obviously the other part of the conversation that, I don't think people like to talk about. We don't have to talk about it here, but I think that, there is some undertones when it comes to that as well. So there are layers as to what kind of led that rivalry, much like it did for MJ and Larry. It is literally it is the same exact. It is history repeating itself 101. It's just funny to see it go around and around just like that. But no, that is yeah, Indiana certainly has a basketball culture. I would say Florida, Georgia, they have football cultures here in the U.S. I think when you look at Minnesota, Wisconsin, hockey cultures through and through. New York, probably another good example of that. I know Michigan's starting to catch up. They have the USA training facility here. Yeah, Mass. Oh yeah, how can I not include Mass in that? And then obviously, baseball. Look at California, man. I mean, just year after year, they're just producing dudes left and right. So it is even when you start talking about regional, the different regions of the United States have different things that they exceed at. So it's, soccer, you got to give it time. A lot of land here.
We can go anywhere. Now, no other comments in. What do we want to do? We want to go, we can talk about baseball here. We can talk about football.
Surprise
Lions.
me. Take it away.
Let's go with the Lions. We talked about it last week with the offensive coordinators. But let's talk about Lions. Is there too many cooks in the kitchen? So yesterday, Mike Kafka, who actually interviewed for the Lions OC job, did not get it. Obviously, that went to Petzing. Again, I don't understand the obsession with bald-headed coaches now with the Lions. Petzing and Kafka both bald, but Kafka, offensive coordinator. Petzing is the official offensive coordinator. Kafka's role is now like offensive analyst or high-level offensive staff. I don't know. It's weird. I've never really heard it before. And then you also have Dan Campbell. So you mix all of it together. You have Dan Campbell, Kafka, Petzing, three offensive minds. Is there too many cooks in the kitchen, or is this to cover up certain things? What is this? There's so many offensive minds in one spot because damn straight Dan Campbell ain't giving up play calling.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest question is why did he take a role below that of an offensive coordinator? I mean, obviously what he did in New York and what anybody did in New York, it was a failed experiment. The Giants are in a state of dismay, and that's why we've seen the shuffling around of coaches. It's why Brian Dable isn't on an NFL coaching staff right now. I mean, as far as I know, there's really no leads in terms of where he could go. So why would he accept a position less than that of an offensive coordinator? And if you're the Lions, why would you pack another name into that room? Like, these are the main questions. And you brought up the most interesting one. Like, what is his role with this team? And is there any sort of previous connection with the other coordinators? Maybe they're just trying to diversify the looks. But the issue with me is when you put so many different people in the same room, my guess is they're all going to have some level of say as to how they want this team to go about drafting in the upcoming cycle and building this offense moving forward. The issue in my mind is, whose vision are we taking on this? Okay, we got a new offensive coordinator that we agreed probably wasn't the right choice, or probably wasn't the best choice in that spot. They could have gone out and got Mike McDaniel. They didn't. So they went and they got somebody different. Now they're adding two new names into this mix. So whose vision for the future are we relying on in this situation? Who are we crafting this team around? Because my guess is they're all going to see different things that really kind of set this whole thing up. So I think it's a unique combination, Ryan. And again, it seems confusing as to, again, what their goal is here. That is the hard thing to kind of grasp, at least from my perspective.
Sorry, eating something.
No, you're good.
Well, to answer your question, he was in the running to be the Eagles offensive coordinator and chose high-ranking offensive role. That's what it is, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they gave him. Maybe he didn't want to go to Philly. Maybe he didn't want to deal with some of the drama that surrounds Philly. I mean, their fan bases are crazy. Sirianni's a dick. And then what's his name? A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, the wide receiver, dealing with a ton of stuff. So I would ultimately say that he chose the job. Maybe he got an offer he can't refuse. Maybe he doesn't want to be in the role anymore as just a strict offensive coordinator, because we've seen, coaches in all sports and all levels, maybe try something out, didn't quite like it, or didn't succeed at it, and maybe kind of want to take a step back for a little bit, kind of regather their confidence, kind of see things in a different light, and then maybe go back out and get that offensive coordinator job. But I will say this, offensive coach, he was an interim head coach. My take on all this is, I know I presented the question, I don't think you can pass up on a guy who has a good offensive mind into your room. I ultimately think that's the right idea. But obviously they've had conversations. He obviously interviewed for the offensive coordinator role. So Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes understand. And Jared Goff is obviously in these situations too. There's no way that the Lions interviewed Petzing, Kafka, Mike McDaniel, and did not talk to Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, or whatever. They absolutely talked to them. So they have some sort of say. Does it feel like an all-in move? Not really, because we don't know how the players are yet. But I feel like they finally have realized, I think this is the reason of this hire, is the Lions have finally realized that you can't just have your guys anymore. You can't just rely on your own. You might actually have to go out and expand on the tree branches a little bit. Reach out to different areas. You need some people to see your blind spots. And I think that's the reason why Petzing and Kafka are both brought in, is to see what actually went wrong last year with the Detroit Lions. Well, you could say some of the play calling. You could say some of the offensive line. You could say they couldn't run the football. So now what does Dan Campbell do? He goes, all right, let's hire two guys that are qualified to be offensive coordinators. Let's hire two. And let's lift the hood a little bit. Let's see what's going on with the Detroit Lions. What is actually wrong with this offense? I think you still have to do the same thing with the defense, because there's a lot more holes, I think, on the defense than on the offense. You got to look up at the hood, see what's wrong. All right, we need a new left tackle. We need a new center. We need a new guard. We might need another running back if Montgomery doesn't want to be here. We might have to add in another tight end, because Sam Laporta, we don't know how he's going to come back from his injury. So I think that's what it is they finally found out that they can't just use their guys for every single thing. And thank the Lord that a Detroit team has finally figured that out, because it takes – because I understand everyone in this city that just, let's just use our guys. No, you might actually have to go out, expand on the horizons a little bit. And props to you, Dan. Props to you.
Yeah, being willing to put the ego aside. I guess it goes against our theory of smartest man in the room syndrome. I guess they're willing to continue to bring in
they heard us.
Better offensive minds.
Maybe they heard us.
Yeah, maybe they heard our show right here inside the game. This is episode 217. Let's take a step aside. We'll be right back for our final segment, as well as question of the day here on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill that came like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Back live on Inside the Game, final segment here in episode 217. Nate Wangler joined by Ryan Glinsky. As always, give us a follow, 9 to 11 a.m. weekdays. Ryan, I know we got a couple of different topics on here. Just got done talking about Mike Kafka being brought into the Lions. I guess we got two other options to go with. We want to talk some baseball today, or we want to talk what's going on with with our good friends, the Bills.
We can talk about the Bills tomorrow. Let's talk a little Scooble.
Little Scooble. All right. Jose Ramirez just signing a new deal with the Cleveland Guardians. A lot of deferred money in that deal, but you worked in the question mark at the end. Does this make you concerned about Tarek Skubal? Does it make you worry about Tarek Skubal? We talked yesterday about how guarded sometimes the city of Detroit can be with their superstars, but where do you come in? What is your angle on what's going on over there?
Yeah, does this simply become does Skubal not actually want to be in Detroit? Because if you look at it, Jose Ramirez, I personally think the Guardians, as of late, the last couple of years, I think the Tigers are a better franchise than the Guardians. You can argue division championships. You can argue that they split in the playoffs a couple of years ago. You can 100% argue that. That's not what I'm saying. But the way that the Guardians operate, just not re-signing players. Who was the guy that's on the Josh Naylor, the guy who looks like Wario? Is that his name, the catcher? Letting him walk.
Yes.
There was another guy they let walk, the first baseman, I think. They let walk. I think Bo Naylor, maybe. I don't know if he's on the team, but letting some players, some key pieces walk, and then you have the whole betting thing with Emmanuel Clase, and I feel like the Guardians have operated in the ages of a minor league organization. Let's just be real. And Jose Ramirez, superstar. And he's 33, he's signed a 7-year contract, and we all know baseball contracts are for the here and now. You get burned later on in life, but that's how it goes. Shout out Bobby Bonilla again. But no, I'm looking at this, and Jose Ramirez deferred. So 10 or 7 years, 175, but every year it's $10 million is deferred to later on. And so he's making roughly $13-14 million a year, right? Yeah. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm like, well, how is all this money being deferred for a superstar that wants to stay in Cleveland? Skubal, does he truly want to be here? That's the question that I'm seeing when I see this contract signed. Does Skubal actually want to be in Detroit? Because if Jose Ramirez is doing this for the Guardians, and it seems like it's night and day based on what the Tigers are trying to offer and what Skubal's trying to offer, do you think that Skubal just doesn't want to be here at this point? Because that's how I feel at this point. Because if Ramirez is deferring all this money to later on, but Skubal isn't budging on anything, it doesn't seem like Skubal is even giving an offer. It just seems like what Scott Boras wants to do. I don't necessarily think Skubal wants to be in Detroit anymore. That's what I think it boils down to, because I feel like at some point we would have had a compromise if Skubal truly had his heart set in Detroit. And I know what you're going to say, Nate, and I agree with you. I think he does want to be on the West Coast. I think that's what it is. But I think that if there would have been some compromise by now.
I mean, I think that's part of it, right? I think he's from the West Coast. He's from that area. So I think a lot his family, his friends, everybody that he's close to, that he grew up with, they're all over there. I mean, he played in Seattle in the playoffs. That's where he's from. He's from that area. So obviously it was an awesome opportunity for him, but I could see a situation where he wants to be back on the West Coast. The other thing is I think you're getting a look into the mind of one Scott Boras. And we've seen this with Scott Boras as it pertains to superstars before. He will not make an offer or try to come even close to closing on an offer before the player themselves has gone out and has tested the market and has seen what they can get from other clubs. So obviously those conversations are underway, and it's something that the camp for Tarek Skubal is, I'm sure, busy on finding the best deal for him. He's said multiple times before that he wants to stay in Detroit, that he wants to make a legacy in Detroit. Now, listen, I know words are just words, especially in sports now. I feel like sports fans were just so tarnished, and there's like this level of PTSD with athletes saying, hey, I'm never going to leave. I'm staying here. I'm this forever. And then they're gone the next day. We've seen it. We've seen that story time and time again. So words, again, are just that. They're just words. They're hollow. But I do genuinely think that there is there is interest in Tarek Skubal and sticking around in Detroit, in being in Detroit and building a legacy here. I don't think he's lying necessarily when it comes to that. But do I think the Tigers' priority right now is to re-sign Tarek Skubal or pull out all the stops in order to re-sign Tarek Skubal? It's clear to me that they're not. That's not their intention, is to pull out all the stops. It's not their intention to spend $300-400 million to keep an aging starter around who is 30 years old now. I think he's going to be 30. So we've seen it time and time again. And it's hard for Detroit fans to really grasp, because what do you mean you don't want to re-sign the best pitcher in baseball? What do you mean that isn't your number one priority, is to retain the guy who just won multiple Cy Young awards? That is one of the hardest thing to do in ever in baseball. I mean, that is a very exclusive group to win more than one Cy Young. What do you mean you aren't doing everything you can to keep this guy on your roster? Because he's as close to a guaranteed W as you get in Major League Baseball outside of Paul Skeens. I mean, it's 1A and it's 1B. It's the reason why I'm so excited to see them go to the World Baseball Classic, because with those two pitching, they might just tear through the competition with just those two. Why isn't that your priority? I don't know. I guess they think it's too risky of an investment. I think sometimes maybe they look at, you're going to have him once only every 5 days. Also, what if we spend this amount of money and he goes out and he has a blowout? Now he's not playing for us. I mean, ask the Angels about what it's like to pay that many hundreds of millions of dollars for a player who, frankly, played 50 games in 3 years or whatever
Mike
it was.
Trout?
Mike
Is that
Trout.
what you're referring to?
Like this is, yes, like to sign a contract like this, in a way, it feels like you're signing your life away, and you're signing away any sort of level of security, especially when it comes to a position in sports that injuries are just commonplace with pitchers. They just happen, and they'll just disappear for 2 months, and then they'll be back and they'll be fine. And that is, like, not everybody is Justin Verlander. Okay. Not everybody is able to pitch in this game until literally they're a dinosaur, and then just go, okay, now I'm going to step away. Like, there's a very small, and we've already seen an injury history from Tarek Skubal. It's not like he's been completely healthy his entire career. So that is, all those things put together, I think, is the reason why the organization is not making him a priority. Now, for right or wrong, if you're a Detroit fan and if you're a purist, you don't want to see your superstar go anywhere else. I understand that, especially if he lands on the Dodgers. I think everybody just might sell their jerseys and hats and be like, I'm not going to cheer anymore. I'm not even going to watch the sport, which to that degree, I don't necessarily say you're wrong, but I don't think it's a priority for the Tigers, Ryan, unfortunately. I don't think anybody wants to hear that, but I don't think it's a priority for them right now.
No, I would agree with you. I think that the whole Skubal situation, I think there's a lot of little messiness around or behind the scenes rather, with Boris and Illich and all that fun stuff with Scott Harris. But I also think that if we look at the way that the Tigers organization is trying to operate, it's the same way as what the Red Wings are doing. It's wait for the kids, and I'm not saying that Briseño and Max Clark and Kevin McGonigal aren't going to be stars. That's not what I'm saying. I think a couple of those will definitely pan out to be some stars. But let's look. Spencer Torkelson's supposed to be our star. He's through the farm system. Riley Green, same way. I don't think we didn't draft Gary Carpenter, did we? We didn't draft him, right? I think we signed him. But anyway, it's
yes, yep.
But yes, it's wait for the kids. That's what we're waiting for. It's very Moneyball-esque, which again, I can't really argue it because it's like 100. They still have a payroll of 150 million-ish, at least last year. But no, I just think that if we look at our highest earners on the team, it's Javi Baez, which is crazy to think still because he's still making $20 million a year from Al Avila. And then you look at Gleyber Torres, who's now, I think, around $25 million a year. But no, it's just that I don't think the Tigers organization wants to go out and spend hundreds of millions of dollars just on a pitcher that you see once every 5 days. I think that's ultimately what it boils down to. That's why I don't think we're ever going to see Reese Olson be given a massive contract because he's hurt all the damn time. But no, I ultimately think you're right, Nate. I think it boils down to the fact that I don't think to us, to you and I, and to the fans, it 100% feels like it has to be a priority to re-sign Tarek Skubal. Obviously, you and I don't have any experience in the money side, the dots the I's and everything.
Yeah.
So obviously there's different conversations, but I think that both sides, I honestly just think that Skubal I don't think his heart is fully in Detroit, and I just think that's making negotiations so much harder, and I just think that it's not a matter of if he leaves, it's just a matter of when he leaves, and whether that's could be tomorrow for all I know. He could get traded. He could be at the deadline, which again, if that's the worst thing. If you start with Skubal to start the year, you got to finish with him unless the team is absolutely garbage. But if you trade him before the season.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's get to question of the day.
Question of the day, that is right. But Salt Athletic, of course, the sponsor of Question of the Day. Again, we are still doing the Salt Athletic bag giveaway for the #1 smell-proof cleat bag that 100% works. If use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off, or scan that QR code, or visit saltathletic.com today. Or if you want to enter in a chance to win one of these free bags for free, head over to our Instagram, NatSoccerTV. JT just updated the logo. It looks fresh. So you head over there, comment on that Salt Athletic post, tag a friend, and comment hashtag NSN Salt, or where's that read at? There it is. Hashtag NSN Salt giveaway. And we will be announcing a winner every Friday for the next 21 weeks. We've got 21 bags to give away. Yeah, dude, I had the like soccer camp reads in front of me instead of actually the other ones. But here we go. Question of the day. I got inspiration from our very own Neil Rule on this one. If Bill Belichick isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer because of the fans and the voters saying because of the cheating, the Spygate, the Deflategate, does that ultimately hurt Tom Brady?
I mean, I think it should hurt Tom Brady, right?
It's got to hurt them all.
Yeah. I mean, so what year was Deflategate again?
Ooh, it's when they played the Colts.
I'm
going to say like 2016 would be my guess. No. Yeah, 2016 I think it is. Because that's when the Falcons were good.
Was in 2015.
Oh, 1 year off.
Yep. So, does it? So he won a lot of Super Bowls outside of that one that's in question. How long did they say Deflategate was going on? I guess I don't remember really the details of what happened, because I could see where it's coming from. You know, does this hurt his reputation? It certainly did hurt his reputation.
It says from 2007. It got figured out in 2007, but they're saying that the duration of this was, they said whenever Bill Belichick took over. So they're saying 2000 to 2007 is when they think that it was going on.
So that was the suspicion. Yeah, I mean, if it turns out to have impacted games to a level that they think it certainly would 100% change the outcome, then yeah, absolutely. I think, and especially because that's physical tampering. You know, that is you are actually physically altering the equipment. In my mind, it's no different than if we were to draw a comparison to another sport, it's no different than corking barrels in baseball. You don't really think it makes that much of a difference, but the way torpedo bats are legal though, which is weird to me. I'm surprised no one came up with that idea before.
I agree.
But with in terms of corking bats, the advantage that you get might only be a couple of feet. Much like, I mean, if you're taking steroids, like it only might make a couple of feet worth of difference because you're a little bit stronger. But at the end of the day, it still makes a difference if you hit it off the barrel of the bat. Much like if you deflate the football, it might move quicker, might be more aerodynamic. I'm sure it's easier to get a grip on the ball if it's not fully inflated. I mean, footballs are huge. Like, I don't think people realize, like, the hands that you have to actually grip it and rip it, like, is, you got to have some big ass hands. So I could see where doing that, and especially the duration over 7 years, Yeah, I don't like that. And I think they won two Super Bowls, and that's 3 Super Bowls in that stretch. Yeah. There might have to be a conversation there. And I
then
think
they
the
lost
other,
the next 2, like within 5 years after being found
The-
out. But to the Giants,
the
of all people.
the most damning evidence in my mind of Belichick being kind of on that in terms of affecting his Hall of Fame, outside of that conspiracy, which again, it would have to be deemed to be worthy of taking away Super Bowls or saying that they won it through that. Like, that's one of the biggest reasons why they won it. But also when Brady left New England, that organization, like the Cam Newton when he was in there, and really everybody since Brady, that place fell apart. And now you look at what Bill's doing at North Carolina, and it's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment for the school. It's an embarrassment for him. And obviously he's not good on TV, so I don't ever foresee him going back to television. I love how they tried to test him in that spot.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is terrible.
He's not like Saban.
That's my biggest argument. The only thing about Brady that I think is different is he left and he still won a Super Bowl. Even leaving without, inflating the footballs and all that other stuff, he still left and he won a bowl. So even if you take away Deflategate, with how good those defenses were in the early 2000s for the Patriots and everything else, did it help him at the end of the day? Yes. Do I think it tarnishes Brady's legacy? No. Belichick is a little bit different because everything that Belichick has done since his buddy Brady left is like, it's been a nothing burger. Yep. So I think Belichick is more under fire, under scrutiny, or under a microscope than maybe Brady is.
We could make this a whole topic tomorrow, to be honest with you. Because you could base on where the Super Bowls and where all the scandals show up. But to answer my question, I would say no, because a couple of those Super Bowls are outside of the scandal situation. But Nate, I got another question for you real quick before we go. Was Brady more important than Belichick to the Super Bowl, to the Patriots?
I would say yes. The old adage is players win games, coaches lose them. I think Belichick was good at maybe identifying talent and putting pieces around Brady that he needed to win. But also, let's keep in mind, Brady routinely took pay cuts to stick around in New England to play for that team to make them a winner. There's not a lot of quarterbacks now that are going to be like, I'll take millions less to stick around and make this team good. So yes, absolutely. I think without Brady, you don't win.
Well, that will be put on social media. So people will get pissed at you, Nate, instead of me for a change. But again, make sure to follow us on all the Sports Nation, Instagram, TikToks, and all the Nat Soccer stuff. Hey, drop a follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We'll be back here tomorrow. Oh, by the way, for all the people that are out there, we do have short form. If you miss a little bit of the show, head over to our YouTube page, which you currently are on, hopefully, or if you're on a Roku channel, anywhere else. If you miss some of our segments, we do post them on YouTube of just our segments, a little bit shorter form video, so if you happen to miss the show a little bit, but some of you guys are having some fun in the comment sections on those short form videos. But if you miss anything, we should have a video or two every single day, Monday through Sunday. So,
Yes, sir.
All right.
Alrighty. We'll catch you guys for 218. Stay classy.
Ooh.
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wenger bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.